That was so much faster than the last time we did this for the first time.
Proud of us.
Mm-hmm.
Look at us. Here we go. Hello, I'm Grace.
And I'm Piper.
And this is the Unveiling Podcast with Grace and Piper,
where we tackle controversial topics through holistic, biblical, and unfiltered conversation.
Let's dive into the episode. We're live.
We're here.
Hello.
Oh my word, we're back.
It's been a while, guys.
It's been a hot minute. Welcome to the Unveiling Podcast.
Yes.
If you've forgotten, I'm Piper.
And I'm Grace.
And we're just excited to be here. It really has been a minute.
Yeah, it's been a while.
What has happened in the past, 3 months probably?
December?
4 months.
So 4 months. 4 months, wow.
Yeah, I think it's been almost 4.
Yeah.
Because it was about a month before I had Desmond, which is my son.
That's the big thing.
That's
the
big
thing.
I did have a baby. That was wild. Hey, I just thought of this. I need to share my birth story.
You do.
I won't launch into that right now. We can do an episode where we share our birth stories.
You can do birth
That'll be fun for all the. Well, it's so long. That'll be fun for all the moms
I agree.
out there. We'll do a birth story episode.
Yes.
Needless to say, mine was wild, and we made it. And he is healthy and chunky, and
so
I know
cute.
I'm biased, but he's so stinking cute. He's pretty cute.
He's adorable.
He is pretty adorable.
Very precious boy.
He's got big old brown eyes. He looks like his dad. He's very sweet, very smiley boy. So that's been the biggest thing, obviously, that has happened. So I'm launching into motherhood and just learning on the fly, as we all do. And it's been a journey, and I'm sure we'll do an episode on that and on beginnings of motherhood and what that feels like. But yeah, right now we're just catching up a little bit. What's been going on in your life?
In my life, I feel like since the new year, it's just kind of been a season of focusing on family, and our family's going through a couple things right now, so just honing in on that stuff, and finally getting into church and getting ready to visit community groups.
Yay! That's exciting.
We're part of a new church now that we really love. It's Piper and Keegan's church.
Yeah, I was gonna say we all love it.
We just like to follow Piper and Keegan around.
We got them.
Yes, and so yeah, getting into community groups. Our new project on the house just started. It just started gardening.
Gardening, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited about that.
So we're landscaping this year. We're starting a vegetable garden.
Oh my gosh.
Which I'm super excited about.
I cannot wait for the summer. We're going to have so many fresh veggies.
I know.
Oh, it's going to be great. We are a communal family home.
Oh, no, you're getting the veggies too.
I'm so excited.
It's just the communal garden.
That's going to be great. Oh, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah. So just been doing that, and yeah, just kind of living a slow life lately, which has been really nice, honestly. Like, I've been starting to get bored. I was definitely getting to the point where I was like, we really need to start up like podcasts and everything again, because I just need something to do.
Yeah.
But with winter, it's just been really nice to live slow and enjoy baking. I started making sourdough bread.
Yeah.
That's been fun.
Ooh, yum.
So the whole popular sourdough stuff.
I'm not into it.
I got sucked in. It's okay. I'll share my bread with you.
I was going to say, Grace can make the bread. I'll eat it.
She'll eat it.
I'm 80% crunchy. Well, I say that. I'm like 70% crunchy. 30% of me really doesn't want to make stuff and just wants takeout. And that's okay. All of my 30% goes to takeout. Yeah. It's terrible. It's so bad. It's gotten worse since having a baby. Oh my gosh.
That's so normal, though.
I just, no.
Cooking's hard, especially when you don't like cooking. I mean...
Oh, I don't like it. That is the biggest lesson I've learned in motherhood is that I hate cooking.
We got a Marco Polo one day, and she was just like, guys, I've decided I hate cooking.
I did not realize how much I disliked it until the meal train after the baby, which was like, I can't express like how much stress it took off of me and how nice it was to just have food like there provided every night. We had so much food we didn't even know what to do with it. We literally didn't buy food for a month. It was insane. like, we didn't buy takeout or anything or groceries for an entire month. It was just wild. But after it was gone, I was like, how do I do this? I have forgotten.
How do I cook?
All of my time was just, trying to keep Desmond alive and keep myself alive and shower and breathe and not panic and navigate hormones. And so it was wild. But yeah, slow season for sure as well. Just I'm exiting my maternity leave here next week. I start back at work. So I'm nervous about that. We'll see how that goes. Just navigating working full time and being a mom, and I'm very thankful I get to work from home, and that'll be great. But also, my son is tiny. He needs my attention, and so I am nervous that I'm not going to be able to do as well in my job as I have done in the past, because I have Desmond who takes priority, and so we'll just see how it works. I think it's gonna work out. I think it'll be okay, but very nervous, but very much looking forward to it. I don't think it'll be a forever thing that I'll always be working as a mom, but I do think that I'm glad. Not even glad. I wasn't sure how it was going to go after I had Desmond, because I've been told, like, people who love working, they love their job, all their things, they had their baby, and then there was this like shift in their heads, and they were like, never again am I going back to work. I don't care if we're poor. I'm gonna stay home, and we're gonna make it work. But our family cannot financially do that. But also, I'm like, I do want a job. I think I want a job. That's just how my brain works. And so I'm excited to go back to work. But at the same time, I'm going to be exhausted. I'm going to be so tired. So I'm going to have to try to prioritize rest when I can. We're just going to see how this goes. It's wild. We're just taking it one day at a time. But same thing here. Slow, easy, just being on maternity leave and having almost my gosh, I almost have a 3-month-old now, which is that's insane that he's almost 3 months.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my goodness. He's still like 6 days in my head.
I know.
6 days a little bit, no. Yeah, hence the yawning. Get ready for a lot more of that this season. But honestly, that is our catch up so far. We're dealing with some family stuff too that's not fun to navigate, but you just gotta do what you gotta do. Yeah. God is good, and He's been faithful, and the journey postpartum with God has been rough, but He is kind and patient with me, and I've never had to seek forgiveness so much, I feel like, in my life as I have being a mom already. So yeah, we're just continuing in that, but it's going well. Yeah. So what are we talking about today? What's our mini topic today? Yeah,
well, when this episode comes out, it'll be Good Friday. I'm not gonna lie, this has been the 1 year where I've kind of forgotten Easter's coming up. Like, it
kind of snuck up on us, didn't it?
Yeah. Last year it was on my birthday, so it was easy to remember. This year, life's been kind of crazy. We're actually gone. Steven's birthday gift is to see a Lakers game Easter weekend. So
fun.
We've just been kind of focusing on getting ready for the trip.
That's awesome. Is Ruth coming, or is she staying with your mom?
No, my mom's keeping her.
So you all are getting a weekend away.
Yeah, we're getting a weekend away.
That's going to be great.
Yeah, and then we'll do family dinner for Easter. But
where's the Lakers game?
It's a Lakers and Pacers game, so it's in Indianapolis.
Nice. That'll be so fun.
Yeah. Yeah, Steven wanted to see LeBron play at least once before he retired. So
that's going to be really cool.
For tickets,
That's really sweet. Are you all staying like at a fun hotel or Airbnb?
Yes, the one blessing, well, there are many blessings, but like Steven working from home is when he travels to Houston for his work, he gets the points. And so we got a free night at a nice hotel.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so very cool. But so I've kind of forgotten about Easter, but with it being Good Friday, just kind of, you more had an idea than I did of what to talk about.
Yeah, so we were going to talk about so this past Sunday, for context, I was sitting in church and the sermon was on hell. And that sounds very scary and Southern Baptist-y, but it's a necessary reality that you have to tackle.
You know what's so funny? So our church does live videos. And I don't think I've ever had a connection issue when I've had to watch online. But the sermon would not load, and if you still go back to watch the video now, it cuts out in really funny parts.
That's super interesting.
I know. I was like, oh, this is odd. Like, connection's weird. I even checked our Wi-Fi because I was like, we've never had an issue with video connection. And I was like, Satan just doesn't want.
He didn't want it to be seen.
I know.
Well, it was an excellent sermon. I was sweating the entire time, though, and extremely stressed out because I have like a severe phobia of eternity, of the concept of never ending, because my human brain is not meant to conceptualize that. We actually can't visualize or I feel like, what that is and what that even looks like. And so that always comforts me. I'm like, I'm not crazy. But even the idea of heaven is scary to me in a way, which sounds weird to say as a believer, but yeah, the idea of never ending, of going on forever, and just, I don't understand it, and it sends me into like sweating and like completely freaking out. And so I definitely on Sunday was like, time to disassociate. Like, Instagram, here I come. But I didn't check out. I was like, no, I need to face my fear. I need to continue every Easter because I have this fear. I am forced to like confront it around Easter, which is an interesting time to be forced to. I don't know. I find it ironic that it's my greatest fear is always right around the time because of what it is that Easter comes, and Easter is when we're reminded to put our hope and our trust in Christ. And so every year I'm like sweating thinking about eternity and not understanding it and being terrified of what that looks like. And every year I'm forced to be like, I trust you, God, I trust you. I know that you're not gonna let me down, and eternity is going to make sense when I'm there, and you have a plan, and you have like joy and ahead. So I was just talking about, I was like, does anybody else feel like that? Like around Easter, does anybody else kind of get confronted with fears that they have like about life? And because we're called to trust and hope in the Lord so much around this time of year. So anyway, I was just wondering that. I was curious. And then by proxy, that led me to think, I was like, oh, like what are people's greatest fears? Grace, what fears do you deal with? What's your fear?
I'm like one of those people who has like a fear of fears. So
really?
I like to think about it a lot. I think one of the things I get really anxious about, my holiday where I have anxiety, is actually Christmas.
Interesting.
Probably just because I don't think we've shared the story of my coma. But in 2020, I got sick with pneumonia for several months and didn't realize it because I just thought it was a cold. And it got really bad to the point where I wasn't super like conscious, and I'm a type 1 diabetic, so blood sugar got really high. I went into ketoacidosis, which is where your blood turns into acid. And so I had to go into a coma while they were trying to revive me, and that happened the week of Christmas. I got out the day before Christmas Eve. And so like DKA, ketoacidosis, causes hallucinations. And so a lot of the hallucinations were very hell-based, which was weird. And looking back at it with my therapist, definitely believe it was more of a spiritual attack to try and scare me, because that was the closest I had been with the Lord, just really strong in my faith. And I wasn't really worried I was going to hell, but I was just like, what was that? And so although I faced death and God saved me, I think since then death has been a really scary thing for me to think through. Just like, one, if I was dying, then why was that what I was envisioning? Like, it almost left more confusion about death. It didn't add a lot of clarity. And so it's like, oh, what is death going to be like? Because you hear some people talk about, like, when they're around their, like, grandparents who are dying, or their parents, and they're, like, at peace, and they're like, oh, I see a light, or they see Jesus before they die. And then I was dying. And I got kidnapped by Satan and was dragged into this like fiery closet. And so that's been a whole thing I'm processing with my therapist at the moment. But But yeah, so the idea of death is a little scary to me, and I think we dealt with a really close friend dying recently, and that's been like almost like a reprocess of everything, of just like being scared of people dying. It's not even really myself. It's like, if I die, how's that going to affect other people? But I'm not scared of me dying. Or also, like, if other people die, even though I know they might be going to heaven, it's like, oh, but they're not going to be here, and how am I going to deal with that? And especially as some people close to us right now are facing some possible big health issues, that's been a real panic in my mind. So yeah, I think one of my phobias, although I'm not scared of necessarily myself dying, knowing what death feels like now, worrying about other people dying, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. I deal with that fear, but almost like in an inverted way. So I do fear dying myself, and I'm like, but because I'm thinking like, how, like I'm not going to be able to help it. I'm not going to be able to be there for any of my people. Like, I'm not going to be able to help Keegan or my son now, you know, or so the thought of dying and not being able to be there to help with whatever may happen, like in their life, is very scary. Like, not being present for like my people's lives is scary. Even though I'll be at peace, I'll be with the Lord, you know? And now I have some friendly faces because of life and tragedy. I have some friendly faces waiting for me on the other side, but still, it's still scary, I guess.
Death is a hard thing to grasp, I think, because even like last year in 2023, we took care of 2 elderly cats and they died, and that was like oddly emotional. Like, that was just...
It was hard.
Devastating. Well, and then it's horrible, but one cat died of DKA, so I was just like, oh my God, like, this is just, it was oddly triggering. And then my favorite cat died, and he was very precious to us and helped us through my coma. And so even as they died, I was just like, man, like, death is really unnatural. Like, we're not supposed to experience that. That's not what God created for us originally. Like, we weren't supposed to see that. And so I thought it would be easier the more deaths I dealt with, you know, because it's like, okay, well, everyone dies eventually, but when you actually go through, it's like, oh, it kind of gets worse and worse every time, because it's like, we're really not supposed to face this.
I read something recently that was talking about death and how there seems to be sometimes a stigma in at least Christianity that when someone dies and they're a believer, we're just supposed to celebrate and have joy. And it's like, you don't need to be sad. You're going to see them again. But this book was reminding us that no, you should be crushed and heartbroken by this, because this was never part of God's plan. Death, like you just said, was never supposed to happen. So regardless if that person is going into eternity, with the Lord, we do have great hope in that and joy in that, but we are supposed to be crushed by the separation of death. We're supposed to be in mourning, because it's like spitting on what God created, which was completeness and fullness in Eden, and then we screwed it up in our sin, and then God was forced to be separate from us. It's heartbreaking. It's tragedy. And so it should be that, and it should be crushing. I hear what you're saying, though, about like the more people you lose, the more heaven looks like we're supposed to like it's supposed to get easier, but it doesn't. It doesn't really. Well,
because I think too, like, you're here on Earth and you've lost more people that you love. It's like you're still here, like going through the thing. A handful of people who I loved having in my life are gone, and I've still got who knows how many years, but like potentially decades ahead of me. And it's like, oh, I have to go through those decades without these animals in my life, these friends in my life, these family members in my life.
I think talking about our fears, whatever they are, I think it makes it easier, and I think we should talk about what we're afraid of more, because I think the more you talk about it, the more you realize that everyone's afraid of the same things. Like, everybody's afraid of dying at the end of it. Everybody's afraid of eternity and what it looks like after death. Everybody's afraid of the same things at the end of it all. But I think that's the point. And it's so like, oh God, that we don't know what's coming after death. We have no idea. Like all we're told is that God is preparing a place for us and that he will remake the earth. We know that, but we don't know what that looks like. We don't know what the timeline is going to feel like or how it works, that our souls exist, but like our bodies will be remade when he comes back. It's weird. But I guess it gives me hope that I know that they're, like when I have lost people, that they're waiting on the other side, I guess, that there are people that I know who have gone there. And the Lord has shown me, like, in like small moments that I can trust him with what's going to come afterwards and that those people are safe. We'll dive into this fully in another episode, but like January of 2023, we got pregnant for the first time and I had a miscarriage. And so I remember sitting outside, it was like a month afterwards, maybe a couple weeks. It was soon afterwards. I was sitting outside of our apartment complex in this little garden, and I always think of this. And I was thinking about the fact that my dear friend Jana had passed away a couple years before of cancer, and she was a strong believer. So I knew that she was with the Lord. And then my grandma had passed away shortly afterwards, also of cancer. And I knew that she was with the Lord because she was an unbelievably strong believer. So I remember sitting there and I was just obviously very emotional and was asking if the Lord would be kind and would show me that like my baby was okay. And so I remember I looked up. I'm not going to cry.
I was going to say, I'm already tearing up.
So I looked up and there were these 3 birds that flew into my path like a vision and like did this little twirl and like kind of flew in front of me for a minute and then they just flew away. And I was like, it just brought me so much peace that I really felt like that was the Lord saying like she is okay. Like she is with, like your Mimi, she is with Jana, like she is with me. Like I don't know why, but it stuck with me. And so call it crazy or not, I choose to believe that was the Lord giving me peace and showing me that it's going to be okay.
Yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think too, like just reflecting on what Jesus went through before he died and just the sorrow that he took on and the pain that he took on, I think reminds me that like he took that on so that we could have a painless life one day. And so everything that he took on was just insane, like more than I could ever imagine facing in my life. And so I think, and I'm trying to figure out how to word it, but like knowing that he took all of that pain and died on the cross so that we could almost like face the opposite. Like we would die and we would live a painless life and have no more tears and just be happy and be with everyone we love, so although life is really hard and we will also have to face pain in our life, we know that we have the hope of, although we have to die, like we get hope at the end of that, and that Jesus did that for us. I think that's one thing that gives me hope of like, even though I think of death and it is painful and it should be painful, but we know that despite all the pain we may face today, like at the end of it all, we won't have to deal with that anymore.
I think where the enemy tries to trip me up is because I'm a thinker, I'm a processor, I'm an Enneagram 6, and so I think the enemy tries to trip me up by saying that can't be true. It's too good to be true. Like that's the wool is being pulled over your eyes. Like someone's tricking you. It can't be that good. But that's just where like it's impossible, and it should drive us to our knees in gratitude, not doubt that God is that good and he does desire that goodness for us. But yeah. anyway, those are honestly all my thoughts.
Yeah.
I don't know about you.
A little bit of...
So there's your mini episode on our little... We didn't mean to preach a sermon, but
just
I feel like we kind of did. But,
yeah, there you go.
What do we have coming up in the next few weeks?
Yes,
in the next little season?
We have some good stuff.
We do. We're excited.
Yes. We are going to talk a little bit on relationships and the importance of specifically female friendships, which I'm excited to get into.
We'll dive more into marriage and talk about that. We've continued to learn about marriage in the past few months.
Oh, yes. I think we should revisit Enneagram because I think you and I have learned some new things.
We're going to have some guests on. We are possibly going to have an Enneagram coach join us and talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe even have some friends on for the relationship episodes. We are going to get into a little bit more of a lighthearted deep dive on just some things that have been happening in the world recently and how it connects to prophecy in the Bible.
Because I don't know if you're aware, but there's something going on across the sea.
Yes. We are dealing with a lot of war. And obviously that is not a lighthearted topic.
Not even a little bit. That'll probably be a heavy episode.
It might be, yeah.
We're going to have to bring some levity to it somehow.
Yes, for sure. But just kind of getting into the war, but also how some of it just connects to prophecy in the Bible, which I think is the more lighthearted part, because I'm a little bit funny about when people talk about, like, oh, prophecy, like, Jesus is coming soon, and I'm just like, we're not supposed to know when that's
exactly, and we're not supposed to guess. Yeah.
Yes, so that's the lighthearted part. We're just going to kind of talk about what everyone else is talking about when it comes to the prophecy, and just getting your thoughts on that too.
And then we're probably going to talk for sure a little bit about what's going on in America, and there is an election coming up.
Yes,
and a completely beloved figure is probably going to be president, and so we're going to dive into this gem of a human and how we feel about him.
Our favorite person in the world. And we have exciting news that we are going to become a weekly podcast.
We are, yes. We're going to see how that turns out, but we're excited because we want to share our thoughts and want to kind of cultivate a community with more of you guys. We actually have gotten approached a couple times in public of our very few followers,
but
we're
getting recognized.
We're starting to get recognized around the city, which is fun. So we just want to see where this takes us. I have no idea if this podcast is ever going to reach anyone more than 10 people that we know, but I have a great time, and I think we should keep. I think we should keep doing it. I think we should keep doing it. We got things to say.
Yeah, it's encouraged good conversation, and I think if that's all it gives, it's worth it.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Well,
that's all we got for you today.
Thank you so much for listening. We are also going to be on all platforms from here on out, so it's more than just Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you can hear us. So make sure to like, subscribe, rate.
We're going to be starting to record, and we're going to be on YouTube as well.
Yes.
We're going to give it our best shot. We're going to see.
It might not be a high quality, but you can still see.
Oh my goodness, no. And we're not going to look great all the time.
It's going to just be like sitting there and chatting with a friend. It's not going to be high quality TV.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. Well, until next time, guys, I'm Piper.
I'm Grace.
And this is the Unveiling Podcast. Thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening.